Hello and welcome to Gimme Empathy. This is a podcast where I talk to people and you listen to me talking to them. That's the idea. So far there have been no radical deviations from this formula. I'm getting over a cold at the moment, so apologies for my my rough voice this episode. I'm on the mend now, back at work and stuff, but I was at home for 3 days recently, and I didn't go out anywhere, and it was kind of weird because normally my weekends are very busy. I'm out doing things. I'm out doing radio, out at band practice, out watching gigs, catching up with people. My weekends are normally just an inversion of a work week rather than an actual sort of rest. It's just like I work 4 days to earn the money to do the fun things on the weekend, the creative things, the social things. But it also sometimes feels like work, my weekends, and sometimes it's nice to go back to paid work and switch off that social part of my brain. But the funny thing is, so I stayed home this last weekend, and there were a lot of gigs I really want to go to. And there was an interview on my radio show I really wanted to be there for. And there was stuff at band practice I really wanted to do. I turned down a bunch of social offers. I turned down a cool creative thing I really would have liked to have been part of. But I couldn't do any of it because I was sick and I didn't want to get anyone else sick. I was very, very lacking in energy as well. And it would not have been good for anyone had I gone and done these things. But the thing is, normally when I'm home, I'll make a real effort to keep doing something productive. And I did the basics. I cooked for the next week. I did a big cook up, and I got this podcast edited. And I clothed myself, and I washed myself, and I washed my clothes that I clothed myself in after I washed myself. But beyond the basics, I didn't do anything productive all weekend. I said to myself early on, this isn't, you need to really focus on getting well. And to do that, you need to not focus on all the other things that I can still do at home. You know, I can still be organizing things and emailing and posting and writing and arranging. There's not a lack of things to do at home. But it's just a virus I had, but it really took it out of me, and it was quite difficult to concentrate. And at one point early on, I recognized this isn't going to happen. You just need to remove yourself from this stuff while you get better. And I did. And instead, I watched a lot of TV. I caught up on a bunch of Daredevil. I watched Rushmore, the Wes Anderson movie. Caught up on Solo, last Star Wars movie. It was all right. I watched this movie called Please Stand By, which was this little indie movie with Dakota Fanning as a woman on the autism spectrum who has to get her Star Trek script to Paramount Studios by the end of the weekend. It's a good movie. It's really cool. Toni Collette's in it. It's a cool little indie movie. Look it up. But anyway, I didn't do anything productive all weekend, and it was very, very strange. And I didn't see anyone. I didn't leave the house. And I'd always thought of myself as, pretty much an introverted person. I sometimes feel a bit socially awkward talking to people, but I went a bit loopy. And sometimes I imagine like what it's going to be like when one day, as you get older, parts of your social life fade away. And I sometimes get so busy, I like fantasize about that. About what it's going to look like when I'm just home alone watching TV, playing video games and stuff. And I got a taste of that this weekend. I have to say, I don't think I'm ready to go to that yet. I think I was at band practice last night with Adele and Ash, and I was talking about my weekend, and Ash said to me, "Gee, you're really a socialite, aren't you?" And I thought, I guess I am. I guess I do really need that. And I'd always thought of myself as very much the opposite. But, I guess we all need both sides. We need to recharge. Sometimes you need to recharge on your own. Sometimes you recharge by being out there with people. And I guess I'm not as one-sided as I thought. is what I found out. So in this episode, I talked to two of my friends who I like doing creative things with, Phillipa Perrott and Harley Young. You might have previously heard them on episodes 22 and 23 of this podcast. I'm in a band with Harley and Phillipa called Harley Young and the Haymakers. They've moved to Melbourne since last time they were on, but I was in Melbourne recently visiting family, and I caught up with Harley and Phillipa on a Friday night, and we sat down in their little in their den and had a few drinks. Harley, I think, had already had a few drinks, and you can kind of tell on this one. And we just kind of shot the shit about some stuff. So this isn't really so much an interview; it's just a little peek and insight into three mates. Well, two of which are married to each other. Harley and Phillipa are married. Catching up and talking about stuff. So a few things to know before we start. I'm very sorry about the sound quality in this episode because specifically whenever I talk, there's a lot of mic pops. I couldn't do much about that, sorry. I was using the Zoom's built-in microphone, and I foolishly forgot to put on the pop filter. So that's why mine is very annoying. You will, by the end of it, you will have a Pavlovian response to whenever I start talking to cringe. If you don't already, ho, ho, ho. The other thing you need to know is, just for context, before we started recording, we had been listening to Sun Kill Moon on Harley and Phillipa's little Google Assistant DVD in the kitchen. And Harley had gotten onto the subject somehow of why Nick Cave is extremely overrated. So I think that's all you need. So without any further ado, this is episode number 47 with Phillipa Perrott and Harley Young.
Hello. Hold it like this. Well, I need to also hold it while we're doing the podcast like this? Okay, sure. I shall speak into it. Has anybody seen the video of Pauline Hanson being left on screen live by Mark Latham where he just didn't show up to an interview?
No.
That's pretty good.
What?
The same guy who just joined her political party?
Yeah, on Studio 10, they were meant to do an interview and he just didn't show up. And so she went on half an hour late and they still had his chair and his glass of water and everything. And they were like... have you ever seen the guy Joe? His name is Joe. He's like usually on a panel with women. He used to be in a show. Was it The Circle or something? I can't remember.
Joe Hildebrand?
Yes. And so he was getting stuck into Pauline Hanson about where Mark Latham was, and she was like, "He's just, he had other commitments."
Fucking Mark Latham is just an absolute spineless prick. Like I knew he had no morals, but he is a fucking disgrace.
Keep it
disgrace.
Pointed.
Is this recording now?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're saying Nick Cave is a spineless disgrace, Harley?
Well, that too, yeah. Nick Cave, Mark Latham, they're one and the same. Yeah.
What was your first exposure to Nick Cave?
I was watching Rage. I was probably about 9 or 10 years old.
And you were also feeling rage upon hearing Nick Cave's music?
Into My Arms came on, and I thought, what a pussy.
No, you didn't. You're a liar.
And then Genuine came on, and my mind was blown.
Where did this actual animosity spring from? Phillipa, have you ever heard this animosity towards Nick Cave from Harley before?
Not this strongly. I feel like he's been working his way up. Right. It's been building, maybe.
It's due to everybody else's reverence and love for Nick Cave. It's probably just because I'm I'm a contrarian for no reason at all.
But okay, so I brought up before we started recording that I would say, like, in terms of public opinion and general public regard, Nick Cave is probably on par with Paul Kelly in Australia, at least. And you do not have the same problem with Paul Kelly.
No, he's ahead of Paul Kelly in terms of critical acclaim. It's like, how dare you ever say anything against Nick Cave? He's the greatest musician that's ever walked the earth. And do you know what? Warren Ellis is like, he owns that band. If you ever see them play live, Warren Ellis is the shit. Like, I'm obsessed with Warren Ellis. Like, and I feel like all the credit goes to Nick Cave. And you know what? I'm not that impressed.
Or you could say the same thing about Paul Kelly with Dan Luscombe.
Yeah, but Dan Luscombe didn't write before too long, so.
And Warren Ellis didn't write Into My Arms.
Yeah, but Into My Arms is a pussy song. So.
Or Papa Don't Leave Me Henry, or The Mercy Seat.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Scott. I'm probably not coming across very friendly in this podcast. Probably going to ask you to edit it a lot, and then you'll say no, and then it'll get included anyway. But the bottom line is, I don't actually dislike Nick Cave that much. It's just that everybody loves him and thinks he's very amazing.
What's your favourite Nick Cave song?
Into My Arms. The others I hate even more.
Philippa, do you have any artists that you've ever felt dislike for just because of how much other people like them?
Oh, not recently. Nothing that comes to mind. No, sorry. Not as passionately scornful as Harley, I suppose.
Do you think it's because you're a better person than Harley?
It could be. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fact. Like, it is true. She is actually a better person than me.
Rubbish.
What's Harley's worst song?
Oh, that's a great question.
Good question. How far back do we go?
Yeah,
do we go back
like,
to Ridgeback County
we don't
days?
go back. That does not exist.
No,
Ridgeback who?
let's say no. Let's not go that far back.
My problem is that I'm really bad at recalling
I reckon
songs
Ibis
in my head.
is my worst song.
Ibis, rubbish. No, I like that song. I do remember not being a fan. Like, I've never disliked one of your songs, at least one that has stuck around long enough to remember it.
Yeah.
But remember when we were practicing for the last album, what was that song that we weren't big fans
What's
of?
the Score?
What's the Score?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I suppose is coming to mind more recently.
That was really funny because that fell down a very particular gender line.
It did.
When we were coming together. All the women hated it and all us guys were okay with it.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting, yeah.
It was weird. I can't explain that.
Hey, in its state now, like we're in mixing now for the album, like where are you with What's the Score?
Well, I haven't actually heard it because I don't even remember if I recorded anything for that song. I'm not sure that I'm on it.
I don't think you
and
did.
so I don't think I've actually heard it. I'll need to hear a mix to judge.
I think it's sounding pretty good.
I'm not a fan now. I've been... The thing is, I take a lot of what Ash has to say and what Philip have to say. I place a lot of weight on that, and I think that it's kind of persuaded me to dislike it a lot.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I also dislike that song.
I never really hated it or disliked it. It didn't click for me like your other songs do. I don't know.
So Harley, you reckon Ibis is your worst song?
I don't know. I've got a lot of really shit songs that I've never released.
Oh, I know.
In terms of
Doesn't everyone?
Recorded and released.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ibis is up there. Yeah.
It's so funny because I remember how enthusiastic you were about bringing that in.
Ugh.
When
Makes me cringe.
Because it was near. I think we already started recording Flinders Parade when you brought that in.
I don't know. I can't even remember.
Probably.
But it was such I don't know. It's very poppy, but it just means nothing. It's such rubbish.
Well, it came in late, and I remember you saying, "This is the single."
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. I can't believe it changed mine so quickly too. But yeah.
It's got its charms.
Thanks. You're very kind, Scott. Yeah.
It's pretty fun to play
It's fun to play.
because there are some good songs that you don't like playing, and then there are some bad songs that are fun to play.
Yeah.
Do you have ones like that, Philippa? Like, are there some songs that are fun to play but you're not a fan of, or ones that are good but you don't like your part in them?
Probably. God, I haven't listened to them in a while, I guess. I can't think of anything off my head, but I do sort of remember the feeling of playing, like being in a song and thinking, I really like the song, but I'm not contributing anything to it, like anything that I really like. Or, like, I don't really want to feel like the feeling of, this song, I don't really want to play this song, but then it's kind of fun anyway, I suppose. Probably something like Ibis might fall into that category, I suppose.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It's been confirmed. Yeah.
Well, maybe you just put that idea in my head, Harley.
Maybe.
But it was always fun to play that one.
Because there's bits like on, like in Barina Jean, like I've got guitar bits. Like you said you really like the guitar on that.
I think that's my favourite song on the new album.
Yeah, like I think it's come out really well. But like to me, that's always the song that it was like the guitar riff written by committee, because I couldn't quite come up with anything when we were recording out at where were we? Like Seven Hills or Eaton's Hill or wherever, out past Eaton's Hill. And I think like we kind of took a 5-minute break and Ash and Ange came back with this thing. Oh, why don't you do this thing and this thing? And it was like, well, yes, that does sound like something I would do, yes. But I didn't actually come up with most of the riff.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And like of the main main one.
But then you revised it and made it your own too.
Yeah, and I'm happy with I was pleased with like the stuff for the bridge, but like for that reason, for that really selfish, creative reason, like it's not one of my favorites to play. Whereas something like Bob Lord, which has 2 long guitar solos, like I'm more attached to that. And in the studio, I was like, no, we got to get this bit just right. Whereas with Barina Jean, it was more, no, yeah, that's fine. And even though I know like Barina Jean is a more important song for the next album.
I don't know. Like I've been listening to Bob Lord a lot. I've been listening to it. I think it's.
I mean, important as in it's a single worthy kind of thing.
Yeah, it probably is.
Bob Lord's still great.
Yeah, I think they're equally as good, but yeah, Barina Jean's probably more single worthy. It might get a couple of spins on 4ZZZ.
Are there songs by other people that you like for weird reasons beyond them being catchy or relatable or anything like that?
I guess there's some. I know there's some songwriters that I'm really envious of for the fact that I feel like they can be completely themselves without compromising for the sake of making a good song.
Like who?
Like
Nick Cave.
Hey, no, I feel like Nick Cave is very contrived and creates an image for himself.
Right. Okay.
Whereas I think Sun Kill Moon, as controversial as he is,
right, yeah,
I do very much like the fact that he is unashamedly himself.
We were listening to him before.
Absolute like prick though in real life. Like I cannot condone his behavior outside of his music, but he does bring himself and himself only, and it also brings an important class element to lyrics and music in the sense that he grew up in Ohio, very poor it seems, and like quite a disadvantaged area, and seems to be unashamedly himself. And I think it's a refreshing change from a lot of like middle class white males that I listen to a lot of. So
it's nice to hear from a lower class white male.
A lower class white male instead of a middle class white male. But yeah, I find that refreshing. But having said that too, songwriters that I'm I guess jealous of, Joni Mitchell.
I mean, she's a God, though. Like, just technically, musically, with her weird freaking tunings, like, she's actually unattainable, the
And
level she was at.
The thing is, too, though, like, aside from the musical thing, I actually don't know any other musician ever who's more personable, who, like, when you listen to, you feel like they're the only person in the world that's singing directly to you. I feel like you're being let in on a little secret that no one else knows about. It's like these personal, like Blue, this is a bunch of personal confessions that I feel like she's not telling anyone except the listener. And that feels very confronting, and it's very moving, I guess. Yeah.
Is that like a trait in general in songwriting that you feel that you I guess there's a difference between aspire towards and being jealous of, isn't there? Because aspiring towards would be, it's like you are actually working to be more like that, whereas jealous, it's like, I wish I could do that. And there's an important difference there, I think, because they're in terms of making things personal, it's like, oh, I wish I could be that open about things and write songs that are that personal and raw. And then there's
I can work towards that and I can get there eventually.
Yeah, because you could, but like it could cost you in other areas of your life.
Yeah.
And some people just put that aside and they are willing to wear that cost.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, I mean, when it comes to songwriters like that, like Joni Mitchell, I would say that I'm probably very jealous, because I don't think that I could aspire to be that personally invested. Like, I feel maybe that I am with a lot of the songs, especially this new album. It's very personal, but I feel like she's very, very, very personal with her lyrics.
Phillipa, has Harley ever written a song that you thought was too personal?
No.
So he hasn't gone far enough.
I have the new one does have direct names of people.
Bob
Lord, Ernest Jim.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Who's Ernest Jim?
It's my stepdad. So yeah, my mum's partner.
What song is that from?
Not even my mum's partner. He's not even her partner. He's an emotional partner, I'd say, because they've been in a platonic relationship for about 25 years. But yeah, it's the first one. Your music wakes me up.
I do love that
little
song.
interstitial song. Yeah.
I guess maybe Harley's songs are more personal than I realise. I don't tend to... He sort of masks a lot of the stories. He'll change the names a lot, and I don't like to pry sometimes or ask too much, because I kind of like the songs for what they are. And sometimes I feel like I do know who they might be about, but sometimes I'm wrong as well. So I don't know. Maybe they are more personal than I give them credit for.
Is it more often that you'll come up with a character entirely on your own, or that you will come up with like an existing person and just kind of obfuscate it with another name or changing a few details? Because I find it very difficult to come up with like a story character song entirely from scratch.
Yeah, I think I usually blend characters.
Yeah.
So I pick like qualities from maybe 3 different people, write a song about how I'm feeling about those 3, and just combine them into one person in the story.
That's interesting. I always assumed that there was sort of one person and that you just change a few details. I didn't realise you were incorporating other characteristics from other people.
Yep.
I think writers do that as well, like in novels and screenplays. That seems to happen a lot, like for narrative convenience, for artistic reasons. Because there's a point where the artistic has to take precedence over accuracy.
Yeah.
I think.
Except for in Bob Lord, hey?
Oh, yeah. Phillipa monitored every word of Bob Lord to make sure it was 100% accurate.
Well, no, I just didn't there were just a couple of things.
Fair enough,
It's actually, it was only
fair
one
enough.
line that needed changing.
Which one needed changing?
Or he said that he was a POW in Korea. I'm like, no, that's completely wrong. You can't change that detail. It's too big.
Okay, well,
Yeah, it's just he was just a prisoner of the Japanese.
yeah.
Right. Where was he a POW?
In Japan.
In Japan. Oh, right. Yeah. Was he there at the end of the war?
Yes, he was there for 3 years. He was captured in 1942 and he was released at the end of the war.
Oh wow. Was he anywhere near Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
No, I don't think so. I have looked it up, but I can't remember where it was. But no.
And so Bob Lord is Phillipa's grandfather, and there is a song on the new Harley Young and the Haymakers album called Bob Lord about him. I feel like the song, like it takes, it's like a series of snapshots that, but can you provide some of like the context about some of the stories about the guy that Bob Lord was?
So Grandpa liked to, he was very self-sufficient. He, when he was about 89, he moved out of a retirement home because he said there were, what was it, too many old people or something like that.
Yeah. Bought his last house
he was
in his
probably
90s.
he was probably one of the older people, but he wasn't interested in doing things that people do in retirement homes, I suppose. And so he went and bought a little house in a town that he grew up in called Euroa, and bought this house around the corner from a childhood friend that he knew, and they sort of spent their last years together, I suppose. They were both in their 90s. And he liked working on, he always had a project on the go. He liked to reuse things. He was one of those people who was always looking for a bargain, or he wanted to make everything that he could. He didn't like buying things. He wanted to repurpose things. And we've actually got quite a few things in the house that were made or built by him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He used to make like breadboards, and he'd make wooden spatulas and little cheese things. He used to make got a table and a lamp upstairs. What he would do is go and find old bits of wood that he found beautiful, and he would make something. He'd find a piece of wood that he really liked, something just on the side of the road, and then he'd think of a purpose for it. So he used to spend a lot of his time out in the shed in the backyard, which was a little scary when we used to go and visit him because he was very, very deaf. And his eyesight was not good. And, this is a man in his mid to late 90s
10
working
double
with
adapters attached to each other.
Yeah, working with very high-powered, dangerous equipment. Never had an accident with any of the equipment, but did have quite a few trips and falls. So,
And one of the things he made was crow traps.
yes, he always wanted to trap. He didn't like crows. He had a thing against crows. And whenever he came up to stay with us in Brisbane, he used to try and come up with a way of trapping a crow. And then he said if you painted it white and hung it out, it would keep all of the other crows away.
What, painted the trap or the crow?
The crow.
Oh, the one
so
that you
if you had a
caught.
dead painted white crow hanging outside, it would keep all the other crows away.
Oh, that's morbid.
It sounds morbid, but he was an old farmer, so that sort of thing wasn't unusual to him, I suppose.
How do you trap a crow? Because they're very smart birds.
Yes, I think it was more. I mean,
Like what did
it's just
the
a way
crow
of
trap
passing the
look
time.
like?
It was actually an old guinea pig cage from our pet guinea pigs.
Okay.
Up on a stick. This is my memory. This is about 17 years ago now, and I guess he must have put something inside the crow trap that would then
Attract the crow into it.
and
pull
then
the string.
and I guess he planned to just be sitting there waiting for it, and he would pull the string, and the guinea
And
pig
then-
cage
yeah.
would fall down on the crow.
So it wasn't an automatic thing, like there was a pressure thing. Once the crow
No.
stepped inside, he was there.
Who's there
He
with
wasn't quite
hand
that
on
technological.
fishing line, ready to pull.
Yeah, it was more about the manpower.
I guess that's what you spend your time doing when you're 94 years old or
Yep.
whatever.
That's right. This was in 2002 when Mum was quite ill and he came up for a while. And so he would have been 92 at the time. Yeah.
When we met, I want this to be on tape because when I met Bob, he's the hands down the most amazing human being I've ever met. But when we went down to Euroa, Phillipa said, "Oh, yeah, like you're gonna meet my grandpa, Bob. He's 96 and he's gonna pick us up from Euroa train station." I thought, well, he's 96. You know, there's going to be a carer that will pick him up from the station. Very patronising. How wrong was I? How dumb was I? Here comes Bob in his car, license taken off him, driving
Not at
around
that
a
point.
country town though, so it didn't matter.
He still had his license.
I did at that
Yeah.
time. Well, 96 was a license. Look out.
They renewed it for 10 years when he was like 90 or 88 or 80. I don't know. We all thought it was a little crazy, but
Yeah. Took us back to his place, insisted on cooking, then pulls out 2 bottles of really cheap sparkling wine. Really cheap. And Phillipa and I, Mitchenbury. Phillipa and I finish a bottle. He finishes a whole bottle to himself, red-faced. We go to bed. 6 in the morning, I wake up with a terrible headache, and I hear this bang, bang outside the window. I look out and he's chopping wood for the fire. And I thought, who the fuck is this guy? I look around the house and I said to Phillipa, like, he's got some really beautiful furniture here. Like, where did he get it all from? Oh, he makes it. And I'm like, what? He made it? Like not anymore, like, present tense, right? Oh, no, like, yes, like, he currently makes stuff still. Yeah, we go into the shed and, yeah, sure enough, he's got his workshop up there, 1,000 different PowerPoints and quite scary. But, yeah, you get in there and make beautiful lamps and tables and chairs and everything. It was amazing to see.
well, I don't think he made any chairs. But so he would make more like tables and lamps and like little things like nutcrackers. Like everyone in my family's got one of his nutcrackers or a breadboard or a spatula or something. And he also, because he was from Victoria, he used to he had a blue van and he would just drive around Australia in that a little bit, like not really long trips because he was in his 80s at the time. But he would drive up from Victoria to Queensland at least once a year and stay with us for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And he always used to buy me tools and show me how to use them, which was quite unusual, I think, for a girl in the 80s and 90s, for her 80, 90-year-old grandfather to encourage her to
Workshop stuff.
be working in the workshop, and I'm very grateful for that because I think that was fairly unusual.
You're very much the handy person.
And now I'm the handy person.
And I'm the, Phillipa, like, the tap's dripping. Can you fix it, please? Once you do, I'll be cooking dinner.
And as you mentioned, he drove around Australia a lot, and he kept some audio records of his travels.
Yes, and he used to distribute them to family members. Unfortunately, I think he used to also just record over old ones. So my uncle actually gave me about 10 tapes of his, but I think a lot of them we haven't listened to them much yet. There's one really good one about the story of his life. And one about his war experiences, which is what he tended to focus on when he talked about his life.
So this was just Bob in the van with a tape recorder talking to himself.
I don't know if we've come across any of those yet, have we, Harley?
I haven't got the van conversations yet. I think it's just him at home recounting his war experiences.
Life,
Okay.
But I believe that other family members might have some tapes. So hopefully we'll come across something at some point. Because, yes, apparently he used to tape his commentary of his road trips, which I don't know that anyone actually listened to.
Would that have been pretty dry?
Yes.
Listening?
Apparently it was very dry listening. That's why
I'm
no one
currently
listened to it.
crossing the Nullarbor. On my left, I can see a tree. I think it's dead.
That's what we imagined it would sound like.
Yeah.
Hour 9, nothing.
Yeah.
Another tree.
Harley, did you find this spectacular specimen of a man intimidating when you met him?
He had a lot of charisma. When he entered the room, you definitely got a sense that someone very important was in the room.
Right.
And that was a really striking thing for someone of his age to be 96 and 97, to walk in the room with so much glow and commanding presence that like you'd look over and you'd be like, oh, someone very important has walked into the room. And he wasn't very important, but he would command that from people, and that was very unique, I guess.
Was he popular in the community?
Everybody knew him in Euroa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone knew him as an old Neo. Oh, here comes Bob. Especially the ambulance officers. What have you done this time, Bob? Apparently is what they used to say. But no, he was quite well known. And I think also when he was younger, he was always a charming person. He always had people around him. I've got a couple of photo albums upstairs, and you can just sort of tell in the photos, in those family photos, you can sort of tell that he just had this pull about him. I don't know.
Like a glint in his eye kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. He looks like he was a fun person to be around.
We were in Euroa, I think, and who was it that was there? And she had her overnight bag. And she was staying the night, but it had only become apparent after a couple of days that
I don't know who else you could be talking about.
I'm sure that we were there. Were you telling me the story about how Marge was there, maybe?
Oh, Marge might have.
And someone like the neighbour was
Marge
there.
should have told you.
Yeah.
No, I've never.
What's the story then?
You've told it more than me. I didn't
His
remember that at all.
romantic exploits.
I don't think he. I mean, we're talking about it.
It's going to be cut out.
He had a girlfriend. Well, he had a girlfriend in the retirement village, but he got rid of her because
we had a lot of fun, but God, she's common. God, she's common. So rough. Oh, she's so common.
we found out from my uncle that he ended up breaking up with her, or giving her the flick, or not talking to her because they went on a cruise together around the Pacific Islands somewhere, and she apparently was quite a racist. And he didn't like that, so he gave her the flick.
Oh, good on him.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But there you go.
What do you think you'll be spending most of your time doing when you're 96?
Ooh, maybe we'll be in France. Maybe we'll be back by then. Who knows?
I just hope I'm surrounded by great-grandchildren.
Will you delight in intimidating them with your eccentricities?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, he already does that. So
without any grandchildren or
he's
even
already
My niece.
taken on the dad role.
My niece just loses her shit with my magic, Uncle Magic.
What's your Uncle Magic?
Uncle Magic.
What tricks you got?
It's next
not-
level shit.
It's
I utilize current technology to blow her mind.
yeah.
Like, basically we're in the
just
car.
She doesn't know how technology
It's
works,
fucking-
and Harley pretends
It is
it's him.
amazing. We're in the car. And I'll go. For some reason, she picked it up. She started it talking about monkey magic. Mm-hmm. And obviously, that's a cool reference back to monkey magic. I don't know who taught her about monkey magic, but anyways, we're in the car, and I'm like, I asked Phillipa to wind the window down when I tell her to do it, and I'll go,
oh, okay,
monkey.
Note he hasn't told her to stop. Okay, Google, stop.
Hey Google, stop.
So that was Harley and Philippa's OK Google device in the kitchen. that suddenly started making farting noises. Based on a joke from before we started recording, where Harley had told it to make farting noises as a reference to Nick Cave's music being akin to farting. And in the middle of this, for some reason, it decided to start up the longest series of farting noises I've ever heard.
I feel like it was just sitting there waiting for us. Maybe the Wi-Fi came back on or something.
That could be it, because it was having a hard time finding things before, yes.
Yes.
Hey Google, play the Lyre of Orpheus.
Harley.
Okay, playing the album Repertoire Blues, The Lyre of Orpheus on Spotify.
Oh, we're doing a podcast. Hey
Now it
Google,
does.
stop. Hey Google, stop.
Harley's latest obsession. Google Home.
Yeah. It's I know it's really stalky and weird, but it's very addictive.
What's the creepiest thing your Google Home thing has done so far?
I think the spontaneous fart noises tonight. It came out of nowhere. That's probably the creepiest thing.
Yeah, that's very creepy. Well, hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was so funny, but seriously, yeah, very strange.
So you've you betrayed Brisbane how long ago now? Over a year?
I don't know if betrays.
Oh, we got
I don't know if
back,
betrays
actually.
the right word, but
We got back from overseas pretty much exactly a year ago. Because it was mid-November when we came back.
yeah.
Right, so you moved just at the start of this year. God, it seems like longer ago.
Yeah, we moved to Melbourne in like the beginning of February.
Has it been everything you thought it would be?
It's been.
I think so.
Yeah, it's
think
been
it's-
good.
Yeah.
It's been the move's been harder than I thought, but it's been good. Takes a while to get used to things,
But I think also you've got a short-term memory for how hard it is each time we moved, because we've done it several
It's
times
true.
now. And there's always a settling in period.
Very true.
And we tend to forget that and we just remember the good times.
Very,
and
very true.
you've done some very drastic moves across the planet before to France and the UK and Canada. How does Melbourne rank in terms of culture shock? What are the things that you've had to get used to about how things are done down here?
I guess, the biggest change is your expectations about how things will be. Like, because we're back in Australia, you just assume that it's going to be warm all the time. Well, in actual fact, the weather's pretty fucked here in Melbourne.
I mean, I think we knew that when we moved down, but what we didn't expect, or we kind of did, because we kind of knew, but I didn't realise to what point insulation and heating is so poor down here for the weather. It's just completely unsuited.
But it's the same in Queensland. Like
Yeah.
it's totally, even with the relatively mild winters we have, Queensland buildings are totally unprepared for that.
It's true.
In terms of insulation and heating and stuff.
I guess I just thought because Melbourne has more cold weather for a longer period of time,
Yeah.
that they would be a little bit more set up for it.
You would think so, because
Yeah.
like there's a lot more brick houses down
Yeah.
here, and I would think well, I'm not sure, because if the sun's out, then they would heat up during the day
Yeah.
and stay warm at night.
Yeah.
But I guess if there's no sun, they
Exactly.
would just stay cold
And that's
all
the
day.
thing, like there is a lot of the time the sun doesn't actually come out. So I know this house, it takes a while to heat up, and even when it's quite warm, like you might have a really warm day outside, it'll be cool when you walk into the house because it hasn't been warm enough, or maybe overnight it doesn't stay warm enough overnight to heat the house up, and so it needs to stay warm for at least like a good 24 hours for that heat to actually start coming into the house.
Right.
Yeah. So apparently though we haven't been here in summer yet, but apparently it gets quite hot upstairs in the room where the sun comes in quite a lot.
I
So
can imagine down here, though, in the den, it would be nice and cool in summer,
Definitely.
because it's
Yep.
basically subterranean down here.
exactly, yeah. And it's warm in winter. So this is the best room to stay out of the weather, I suppose, in the extremes. When it's really cold or really hot, this is always the best place to be, I think.
What's the hardest adjustment besides like the climate you've had to deal with in Melbourne?
finding friends at 32.
Right.
I reckon, like, because when you were younger, you develop your social network very organically.
And because you're in these institutions, you're in school, you're in
You're
uni.
in school, you're in uni, and everybody's sort of keen. It's like, hey, you want to be a friend? Let's go out for drinks. Let's all hang out. And then when you're overseas as well, if you're an Australian, it's like, oh, you're an Australian too overseas? Oh, like, and it's almost like your friendship is put on turbo speed. It's like you meet someone, it's like, oh, like, you know someone for 6 months, you feel like you've known them for 5 years. But here, it's like everybody's sort of got an established social circle of friends. So you have to go out and actively pick up friends.
Having said that, we've got quite a few friends down here that we
do.
know from Brisbane. So it
We
actually
do.
hasn't been as dire as you make out, Harley,
No,
because
it's not been
we
that bad.
we
It's
have
been great.
we see people every weekend.
I know,
whereas
it's
in
been
France we had a very small pool of friends.
It's very true.
So
I mean, it's gotten to the point where, like, I can come down to Melbourne for a weekend like this and have a full social calendar and still be missing out on people
Exactly.
just based on Brisbane people who have moved down here.
yeah, yeah, it's true. We know plenty of
Very
people
true.
down here. So
Very true.
But I guess that there is the issue of finding new Melbourne people.
yeah, maybe you're just thinking of finding new friends, Harley. As we've done in other places we've moved, we haven't just sort of gone and found, well, except for London where there's always plenty of Aussies around, you meet new people and form new friendships. And I suppose we haven't done that here. We've just sort of started up old friendships, reconnected with friends that we had before. We haven't really met new people since we've been here. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, when you're in places like Quebec and Paris, which are like the most different from Australia, there's definitely probably no one you would have known already there.
No.
No,
Like-
we didn't. That was the hardest actually, Quebec City, because Harley wasn't working full time, and so he already had a lot of time in his hands, and he didn't speak the language, and he didn't have like a school or a job where he was meeting people. So initially, you made your friends at English classes. Sorry, French classes, and then finally you broke into the music scene. But you really had to persist. Like, it took you a good few months of going to gigs and getting to know people for them to sort of finally. And it's not like it was a big wall to break down, I suppose, but it took quite a bit of effort for you to make friends with. But now they're like the sort of friendships that we'll never lose.
Yeah,
They're very
we've
strong
made
friendships.
really lifelong friendships. But yeah, it took a lot. It took a real big effort at the start to initially forge those friendships with people.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe in Melbourne you should, because now you do speak French, should you just go around speaking French, pretending to be from either Paris or Quebec, like Australians aren't going to know the difference? And do you think that will be like a more interesting angle than just another Brisbaneite who's moved down here?
For sure.
I think we've gone for the angle of we've made a few friends with French people living here in Melbourne.
Really?
And they like the fact that we're Australians but we speak French. So that's helped us a bit to make some friends.
Yeah, because it is, as a stranger in a new country, it is hard to meet local people and make friends with locals, and we remember what that's like. So I think aside from us just trying to find people to practice French with, it's also this sort of exchange where you know how hard it can be in a new country when you don't know the people or the culture, to find for them to have someone that can help them with those sorts of things. It is a big deal. So I guess it's sort of a win-win. You know, we get to meet French people, and, you know, if we went to France, I'm sure that we'd catch up over there. And yeah, that's been one good thing about Melbourne, because there are a lot of French people here.
I wouldn't have known.
Yeah. We have this, Harley went onto this French Facebook group and just posted a message in French saying, hey, we're two Aussies and, you know, we lived in France for a while and we'd love to meet some French people. And he had got so many messages back from people who were like, hey, let's meet up for a beer or let's meet up for a coffee or whatever. And we also got invited to this French dinner, which is this sort of group of French expats who meet once every month, I think, and they have dinner in this little French restaurant in Fitzroy, just like a private, in a private courtyard part of the restaurant, and they just do it as a regular thing, and they meet up and they have French food, and it's just like walking into France whenever we do that. It's really nice.
So Harley, how's the search going for the Melbourne band?
Well, I have met some. Yeah, we have had a jam with some people.
Oh, cool!
And a bass player. Haven't found a replacement guitarist yet.
I mean, you're never going to find a replacement.
No, that's it.
We'll find an imitator.
A stand-in?
Like, I'll never find another Scott Mercer.
A scab.
Yeah, that's it, basically. Yeah.
Because, so you and Phillipa moved to Melbourne earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
You came back to Brisbane for the recording sessions for the second album. But I think we all, by the end of it, said to you guys, like, you really need to find a Melbourne band because it's not going to work long term, flying back and forth and rehearsals and recording and all this. So how did you find a drummer and a bass player?
Well, we were playing a show. It was actually the single launch of Counting Song when we played down here with the whole band.
Oh, yeah.
We had a guy come up and say, hey, I'm a really big fan and I've been waiting for you guys to come down to Melbourne.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. And he's like, and by the way, I play drums and my wife plays bass. And I was like, cool.
2 in 1.
Do you want to be in my Melbourne band? So
now it's like a weird swingers band made up of husband and wives.
Yeah. Husband and wives all playing together.
And when you at practice, do you all put your car keys in a bowl? Although it's just 2 sets of car keys because you both live in the same places.
Yeah.
I haven't actually met these people yet.
Yep.
Harley went over there a couple of times, but he assures me that we'll all go down really well. So we were talking about the next time we practice. Harley had 2 days off this week, Melbourne Cup, plus he had the Monday off as a holiday, so he went over and played and so I think they were actually expecting me, but he didn't communicate that I was working and couldn't come. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to meeting them because Harley speaks very highly of them.
That's going to be like so weird, and I'm kind of looking forward to the weirdness of watching you play like songs that I originally played on with the new band.
I wondered how strange it'd be for you to see someone else play your guitar leads.
I'm excited, actually, because I was having this conversation with Adele Pickvance, because she's someone who came in to a Reformation band and that had 10 years of experience and originally was playing all... Actually, that's not true because she came in on Grant and Robert's solo stuff, so was playing new stuff. But then when the Go-Betweens became a thing again, she was playing someone else's bass parts on all the old songs. And I've never kind of witnessed that before because there've been like 7 or 8 bands, but I've ridden all of them into the ground. I've never witnessed them go on without me. And the nearest I have this, I've joined We All Want To and played bass and played other people's bass parts and met some of the previous bass players when we'd been on tour. And it's always been, for me, it's kind of a, Tim will be like, oh yeah, this is this guy. He used to be our bass player. It's like, oh yeah, hey man. And but I don't know what his experience is, watching me play his bass parts. And so now I'm going to know. When Imitator Junior is going to be playing my jangles and the haymakers.
Absolutely.
But I'm excited by it. I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Someone else takes it to Jangletown.
Yeah. You found the roadmap to Jangletown.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
So how are you going to find a guitarist? You found the husband-wife bass player, the rhythm section?
Yep. So they know a guitarist.
Oh, good.
Yep. And they've heard your work and said that he'll be a lot better. So I'm really looking forward to an improvement in the guitar. For the,
Well, I'm looking forward to Mick Harvey joining your band, and short of that, I will not look forward to it.
yeah.
Do you guys want to play a song?
What would we play? God, we haven't played in a while, have we?
Surely you've got a million songs you can
Probably.
just bust out.
I could do a new, very, very new one.
Well, so new that I probably don't know it.
Get one with Phillipa on it.
We're gonna do the one that Scott hates the most.
No.
Every little town. This is our number one hit.
Oh, I thought it was Portugal. That's okay.
Scott really hates this song, and I think it's it's so perplexing why you hate it so much.
These things get
It
blown
just
out
goes
of
to show
proportion.
how much you have
I'm
such
not
a
really-
poor ear for melodic songs and good lyrics.
Can we do one without violin though? Can we just do a singing one?
It's probably why,
You moved to Melbourne?
just to get away from your poor judgment. And I mean, if you could only just do what I say and play guitar, and in between that, just keep your fucking mouth shut. You know? Yeah. Good thing Mick Harvey's joining the band.
All right, so you've decided to change songs after a long decision-making process. What song are we doing in the end?
We're going to do Barina Jean.
Okay, this is off the upcoming Harley Young and the Haymakers' second album, Little Songs for Big People.
Little songs, big songs, little songs for big
I
people.
always get them mixed up.
Big songs for little songs for big people.
Tiny songs for enormous people.
Giant songs for tiny people.
Okay, this is Barina Jean.
Tim says you're going coastal for a while. Well, you gotta admit, all that sand is gonna stick some. I saw you driving that car.
What was I doing
You
out
look like
there?
Carmen San Diego in your red gloves, shooting up the Bruce like you don't know where you're going. Change your direction. You've got no direction. What does that mean? Marina Jean. I still got your old shirts and your old magazines. I think you've got more TV hits than even TV hits has ever seen. I saw you on my newsfeed.
What was I doing up there?
Charisma is as rare as a phone call here.
It was only chicken and beer. There's not much more going on here. Change your direction. You've got no direction. What does that mean? Marina Jean. Change your direction. You've got no direction. What does that mean anyhow? 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 Marina Jean. Marina Jean. Marina Jean. Marina Jean.
Love yous guys. if you want to hear the movie, the movie. If you want to hear the music that I make sometimes with Phillipa and Harley, Harley Young and the Haymakers' first album, Flinders Parade, is up on all music outlets, I guess. Is it up on all? I don't know. Bandcamp. It's up on Bandcamp at least. And our second album will be out early next year. I've got some gigs coming up. You can see me playing guitar with Adele Pickfance and the Chandeliers on this Sunday, the 9th of December, 2018, if you're listening in the future and it's too late. We're playing at Phase 4 Records in Fortitude Valley. That's on Ann Street. It's about opposite the Beat. It's a Sunday Arvo gig from 3 p.m. It's free, and we're being supported by the one and only Tim Stewart, the boss. And you can see me playing with the boss also as part of We'll Want To on Sunday the 23rd of December at the Junk Bar out at Ashgrove. And you'll need to book tickets for that one because spots are limited. We're playing 3 sets. It's like the end of year thing. It's going to be really, really fun. Thanks for listening to this episode. Until next time, stay surrounded by love and kittens and shit. Not police, hopefully.